Now, new details regarding the late Queen Elizabeth II's final hours have been released. According to a memo written by Her Majesty's private secretary, she slipped away in her sleep in a very peaceful death. Daily Mail royal writer Rafe Heydel-Mankoo refers to the documents in his new biography on King Charles. The book also revealed that the King found out his mother had died whilst driving back to Balmoral after picking mushrooms. Oh, I love that. Joining me now to explain everything about the book and what happened in the Queen's final hours is royal broadcaster and commentator Rafe Heydel-Mankoo. Thank you very much for coming in, Rafe. Always a joy to see you. Sadly, no cocktails. We were doing cocktails together over Christmas, but that's another story. Maybe tell you one day. But this is on the front page of two of our newspapers today, The Sun and the Daily Mail. Queen's final hour, she simply slipped away. So tell us more.
Yes, it's a very moving story, which is serialised in the Daily Mail, excerpts from the book by Robert Hardman, the veteran royal journalist, as you say, which reveals really intimate details of what went on in Balmoral in the hours and days before and after the Queen's death. As you say, it records that the Queen slipped away peacefully in this memo and that she would have been completely unaware of anything happening, which I'm sure is a great relief to us to know. It also reminds us actually how blessed we were to have the Queen as our Queen, because it shows that even into her final days, she continued to work from her deathbed.
I love this little story about that she had boxes delivered to her, literally on her death.
For 70 years, the Queen famously worked on these royal boxes, the documents of state she had to work through, and she even had her final red box working on it from her deathbed. And indeed, after her death, her private secretary, Sir Edward Young, opened up that final box to find two sealed letters in there, one to him and one to the new king. Now, what's in those letters? Were they final farewell? Were they final instructions? We'll never know, but quite remarkable. Also, a day before her death, Her Majesty also tried to attend a very important Privy Council meeting by audio link. In the end, she wasn't quite up to it, and they cancelled at the last minute when all the Privy Councils were assembled. But it shows you the dedication of our Queen to fulfil her duties. But as you say, we also found out that the King was behind the wheel of a car when, at the moment of succession, he had rushed down to Balmoral by helicopter to be at the Queen's bedside. He spent an hour with Her Majesty, but he was then told that the Queen's death wasn't imminent. It would probably be a day or two later. And so, because, of course, he had a lot to think about and focus his mind on, he went and did what he likes to do and go and pick mushrooms to
I love that. It's just such a little detail, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite a charming scene, actually, to think about the King doing that. And on his way back, his aide's phone rang. He told his boss to pull to the side. The King knew what that meant, but it was when he took the phone from his aide and he heard the Queen's private secretary address him as Your Majesty that he knew what had happened. Now, the King's first thought was, I must tell Prince William, the new Prince of Wales. He must be the next person to know. So he phoned the palace switchboard. Normally, he would say, this is the Prince of Wales, connect me to Prince William. He couldn't say that this time because he couldn't allow the staff to know before Prince William, so he didn't know what to say. So he said, it's me. That was all he could think of.
Thankfully,
luckily, they recognised the voice and connected him there. Now, of course, we also find out from this the true story of why Harry hadn't been notified.
Going to say, just explain what happened with the whole Harry being there, not being there, where was Meghan, etc., etc.
So what happened was, when the King rushed by helicopter to Balmoral, he told both of his sons to make the haste and come to Balmoral too, because they all thought the Queen had days rather than hours. And then when he found out that the Queen had died, every effort was made to contact Prince Harry, but Prince Harry was in the air and flying, and they couldn't get through to him. So when the plane landed, the first thing that he got was a news update, breaking news that the Queen had died. In Spare, he sort of implies that how cold-hearted his family were, that he had to find out from the media. Totally not true. Every effort was made to contact him, and it was simply the fact that he was unreachable at that time.
Why did Harry, look, putting aside the royal stuff, obviously they're incredibly privileged, we all know that, but this is the death of a much-loved mum and grandmother, OK, and they are human, despite, even if you don't support them, they are human, and this was stuff of a much-loved grandmother who, as you say, Rafe, had done the utmost in duty terms. Why did Harry even think about the need to put that in his book when he knew it basically wasn't true?
You might well ask that question, and it's telling that the publication of Spare was delayed until after the Queen's death, deliberately to include new additional information. This, for example, is why Prince William didn't respond to Prince Harry's alleged text about travelling together to Balmoral. When the King, or Prince Charles as he then was, told his sons to come up, Harry is alleged to have texted Prince William, "How are you travelling up?" To which in the book Spare he says, "My brother never replied to me." But of course, Prince Harry's staff made no effort to contact Prince William's staff. They've all got each other's phone numbers. The plans could have been made there, but Prince William knew full well that this book was coming out, and any interaction that they had would eventually end up being published, as of course we saw that it was.
It's so sad. I mean, it's a fact, you know, as I said, regardless of what you think of the royals, yes, they're privileged, they've still got a load of money, etc., but it's a family.
It is a family, and one of the most touching moments is, of course, the Princess Royal, by serendipity, happened to be in Scotland at the time. She was at her mother's bedside, and of course, we always think of the Princess Royal as being stoic, the ultimate concept of stiff upper lip. But even she broke down almost, and one of her members of staff offered her a hug, and the Princess Royal said, "That's the last time that's ever going to happen."
Oh, bless.
At one moment when she came close to breaking down, but she remained with it.
Thank you. I'll give you a hug. Thank you for coming in. That's Rafe Heydel-Mankoo, royal broadcaster and commentator.